Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how to combine like terms. So let's go ahead and let's get started. To begin, we're going to talk about a couple vocabulary terms that are going to help us understand today's lesson. The first one I want to discuss is basically what a term is. A term is a part of an expression that can be either added or subtracted. So if I look down at the example I have written here, I can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms that are being added or subtracted. Now, they can be further classified as like terms if they have two things in common. Like terms are terms that have the same variable that were raised to the same power. So if I look here, I can see that the first two are like terms because they were both have the variable x, and that variable x is also raised to the second power, making these two like terms. I can also see that 4x and negative 7x are also like terms, because they both have the same variable x, and it's raised to the power of 1, we just don't see it. Lastly, there's constants. Constants is what we call a term that doesn't have a variable raised to a power, or a variable in general. Constants can actually be like terms with another constant. Now today what we're going to be focusing on is how to combine like terms. We like to combine them in order to simplify our expression and make it easier to work with. Typically, the way we add or combine like terms is by combining the coefficients. So the coefficients are the numbers that are in front of our like terms. So for example, in these first two, 25x squared and plus 15x squared, the coefficients are 20 and a positive 15. So what we should do in order to combine them is we simply add them. In this case, because they are both positive. So a 20 plus a 15, that would get me 35x squared. Then I go ahead and I look at my next two like terms. My next two like terms are positive 4x and negative 7x. Because I have a positive 4 and a negative 7, when I combine these, a positive 4 and a negative 7, if I combine those two together, a 4 minus 7, that would get me a negative 3. And our variables are going to stay the same. Notice in the previous like terms, I ended up still having x squared. For these like terms, I'm going to keep the x. And then what do we do with our constant? Well, since our constant doesn't have a like term, we simply just keep it the way it is. It's going to stay positive 13. Now rewriting this as my final answer in the same color, I would have 35x squared minus 3x plus 13. Now again, that's exactly what I had above it, but I just went ahead and put it together in the same color. So let's go ahead and go over a few examples on how we can combine like terms. In this first example, the first thing I want to do when I'm combining like terms is to actually identify which of the terms that I have are like terms. So I go ahead and I look to see what variables I'm working with. Well, I see this first term has a t. The second term has an r. My last term has a t. The only variable that showed up more than once was the t. Second thing I check is, do these t's are they raised to the same power and do they have the same exponent? Well, in this case, both of these t's are missing an exponent, which means the exponent is 1. So that means that I actually can combine these two, and these two are in fact like terms. So the next thing I do is I try to combine their coefficients. What would I get if I combined a negative 20 and a positive 8? Well, let's check. Negative 20 plus 8, that would end up getting me a negative 12. Now the t stays the same. And then, just as the previous where I didn't have a like term for my constant, in this case, this negative 25r does not have a like term. So that means I am simply going to rewrite it, negative 25r, making my final answer negative 12t minus 25r. And that's how I've simplified my expression by combining the like terms. Let's go ahead and do another example. Let's look at this one. Now here again, I want to check my terms to see which ones qualify for being like terms. So I have a 16x squared, a 3x, a negative 8x squared, and a positive 12. Now I see the letter x 3 different times. So Because there's no other constant, that constant cannot be a like term. So now I'm just looking at these three to see which of these three can actually be like terms. Now, in order for them to be like terms, they have to have the same variable, and that variable has to be raised to the same power. Because our term in the middle, this positive 3x, was not raised to a power, that means it can't be a like term as the other two, because the other two already have a power. Now we want to check, is that power the same for the other two terms? And as you can see, it is in fact. Both of them have a positive 2 as their exponent, which means they're both x squared, meaning these two are like terms and I can combine them. And actually these are the only like terms in this problem. So if I go ahead and I combine these two, again, the way we combine them is by adding their coefficients, the numbers in the front. So I have to combine a 16 with a negative 8. Combining a 16 and a negative 8 will lead you to a positive 8, and again, x squared stays the same. So these two were my like terms that I combined, and they got me 8x squared when I combined them. Now the other terms, this 3x, again, it does not have another like term, so it's going to stay by itself. And also, this constant, the 12, it's going to stay the same, because again, it did not have something else to combine with. So rewriting this, I get 8x squared plus 3x plus 12, that being my final answer. So now let's go ahead and mix it up a bit, and we're going to do a next problem. And this next problem is actually going to have two sets of terms, or two pair of terms that can be combined. So let's get and look at this one. Let's analyze this problem to see what my like terms are. So I definitely, first thing I see is I see a lot of x's here. Okay, so I see a 5x squared, 7x. I see a constant negative 15, negative 12x, and negative 9x squared. I personally like to rule out everything that's not a like term, so I can tell right away that this constant is by itself. It's not going to change, it's not going to combine with anything else. Next, I try to partner up the other ones. So I can tell that the two on the outside, because those both have an x and an x squared, both of them are matching both of them. These two are like terms because they both have the same variable raised to the same power. Both of them have x squared. So now I need to combine their coefficients, 5 and a negative 9. So what is 5 minus 9? That would get me negative 4x squared. Now this positive 7x and this negative 12x are also like terms because they both just have an x. Now they don't have like an exponent, so I'm allowed to combine them. They both have the same exponent of 1. So now I'm going to combine a positive 7 with negative 12. Again, we just add up their coefficients. So combining these two's coefficients leads me to get a 7 and a negative 12. If you type that into a calculator, you'll get negative 5. And then again, our variable stays the same. The only one that didn't change was our constant, which was negative 15. So I'm gonna go ahead and just rewrite that. This would make my final answer to be negative 4x squared minus 5x minus 15. So that's just a little tips and tools and instructions on how to combine like terms and how to simplify our problems. Again, usually the end goal is we just transformed 5 terms into 3 terms. That's simplifying the expression that we were giving into a far more simpler one that's usually smaller. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments or ask me when you see me in class for my students. That's all, and I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.